Welcome to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm Angela.
I'm Lisa.
I'm Emily. We're three life coaches who found connection in faith, friendship, and purpose.
Get ready for real talk, relatable stories, and practical tips you can actually use.
We're so happy you're here at the Life Coach Lounge.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Life Coach Lounge. I'm here with my friends, Emily and Lisa, and we're so glad you're joining us today in the lounge. We have a really fun topic today, and this was a loyal listener request topic. Shout out to my mom. She requested this topic. We are talking today about our wedding day. What we would change, what we would do the same, what we loved about our weddings. So we would love to offer you more support other than our podcast. So if anything today resonates with you, we are all here to offer one-on-one coaching to you. So check the show notes. We all have information there where you can reach out, and we would love to be your one-on-one coach. So girls, I have a fun question for you today. If you could go back to your wedding day and add one totally fun or unexpected thing, no budget requirements and logistics aside, if you could just add anything, what would it be? Emily, what would you do?
So this was fun. I actually brainstormed this question with Andrew because I thought it was such a fun question and I wanted to know his take on it as well. And we came up with two things. One, it wouldn't have needed an extra budget or anything like that, but a huge picture of everybody that was at our wedding. We had a very large we had a lot of guests, very large guest list. And so to have kind of that panoramic, really big picture of everybody, that would have been super cool to look back on that.
I love that.
And that was, we got married before we had the cell phones and the selfies. We had cell phones, we had flip phones, but we did not have the smartphones. So you didn't even have selfies where you could just line everybody up. And the other thing that Andrew came up with that I thought was super fun was instead of a DJ, which was also kind of the thing you did back in the day, you just had a DJ. He would have loved to have a music artist like Need to Breathe or some famous band play at the wedding to have it kind of like a concert and a reception all in one.
How about you, Lisa? What'd you come up with?
Well, I actually came up with ditching the DJ as well because we had a DJ, and there's nothing wrong with the DJ. But if budget wasn't an option, although I love the fact that you took it like budget's not an option, so let's full send it and get whatever band we want. I didn't take it that far, but I did think I probably would have had a band. I probably would have chosen either a local band that we liked at the time, but instead of a DJ. And when I quickly asked my husband this question, he kind of related it to how he looks upon things now. But he's like, oh my gosh, our choice in wine back then was god awful. So I think I would have definitely chose better wine.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. But in your 20s, your taste buds maybe for wine are not quite as mature as our taste buds are now.
I think for me, it just would have been more fun. We had a very traditional wedding. We did not have dancing or DJ or anything. So just adding in more fun. And I did think about dancing. I think that would have been a lot of fun. So, have you ever seen the videos where it's either like, mother son or daddy daughter, and they learn a dance and they choreograph a dance together? I just think that's so fun too. I love watching those videos on Instagram. But yeah, lots of fun ideas. People do some crazy things now. And I know some of it is just for the gram, but it is fun. It's fun to watch those videos. So I did a little, since we like to look up definitions of words, I did a little digging. And what I was thinking about is that marriage is a contract and also a covenant. So the definition of a contract is a legal agreement between two or more parties that outlines specific obligations, rights, and consequences if the terms are broken. It is conditional. If one party fails to uphold their end, the other may be released from the agreement. It is focused on your protection of rights and limiting liability. You are in a contract to protect yourself. Contracts are typically enforced by the courts. So the example here is a contract says, I will stay in this marriage as long as you meet my needs or uphold your end of the deal. And we both know that there is a marriage license and a contract involved, in a marriage and a wedding. So the definition of covenant is a sacred binding promise made before God, and often involves a spiritual or moral commitment beyond legal obligation. It is unconditional and based on commitment, faithfulness, and love. Covenants are rooted in relationship, not just performance. In scripture, God has covenants with Noah, Abraham, Israel, and the church through Christ, and they are permanent and initiated with grace. A covenant says, I choose to love, honor, and serve you regardless of how I feel or what you do, because I made this promise before God. Is there anything you girls would like to add to our definitions there?
I love those definitions, and I think they're really valuable to talk about on an episode like this where we're talking about our wedding day. And also, I just want to speak to the women that might be listening, or men, where marriage did not work out for them, or there is a situation of divorce, or there is a situation of betrayal, or whatever. I guess they're on my heart right now because we are talking about our wedding days and we are all still married. And so I just want to be sensitive to that yes, these are the definitions. And yes, I agree with a lot of what you just explained there. And also, there is grace in situations that you might find yourself in where your situation doesn't quite fit into what we just described. So we see you as well. And just wanted to put that out there.
100% agree. Thank you.
I'm just grateful you looked up definitions. I mean,
I know you're proud of me, aren't you?
I know. I'm super excited that they're already in the notes that you shared with us. I'm like, oh, good, she already did it.
So let's just give a little overview of our wedding. Maybe a couple highlights, what was meaningful or memorable on your wedding day. Lisa, you want to give us a little recap?
So one of the things that stood out for me with this question is I got ready for my wedding at my in-laws' house. So my fiance at the time, his bedroom was in the basement. So myself and a few of my girlfriends were at their house getting ready, and then the limousine was going to pick me up there. So as I was walking up the stairs to get in the limo that had arrived, my father and my father-in-law to be were sitting in the kitchen, and the basement door walked right into the kitchen. And the jaw-dropping look on their face of pure love and joy, and just like the look on their faces just like set the tone for the rest of the day for me. So that's probably one of the things that stood out the most when I read that question, like If I could relive that moment again, I would definitely, one, be able to fit into my wedding dress, and two, walk into a room with those two men.
Oh, that is so special. I love that.
That's amazing.
How about you, Emily?
So, one of the most memorable things for us was at the reception, Andrew's brother surprised us. We didn't know this, but he had written a song for us. And so he got out his guitar. Like after the speeches were done, he just got the microphone and we thought he was just going to say a few words. And his girlfriend at the time, who's now his wife, got his guitar out, started setting it up. And he said, when Andrew called me and told me that he was going to get married, I just thought that was the most special thing ever. And so I wrote you guys a song because I thought about how amazing it is that he found the person he wanted to spend his life with. So Jeremy just blew us away and got his guitar out and acoustically sang this beautiful song that he wrote for us. And as you both know, my daughter just got married, and that is the song that she chose to have a little dance with Andrew at the reception, because Jeremy had the song recorded. And so we played the recording of that beautiful song. So it came full circle, and it was just really, really special.
Oh my goodness. Well, who can compete with that? You guys really found some special memories. My memory is weather related. We got married December 29, and it was a Friday night wedding, and there was a horrible blizzard. And we got married at a little country church. Um, and so everyone had to drive out in the country on super snowy roads. And it was time for the wedding to start, and hardly anyone was there. So we kept postponing it because people were kind of trickling in, and we were waiting and waiting and waiting for people to get there. And so the wedding ended up starting probably half hour, maybe 40 minutes later than it should have. But I mean, in hindsight, we should have just started on time because I mean, the grandparents had been there, all afternoon for photos and all of that, but it just got later and later. So, anyways, yeah, a big blizzard. And then we had the reception at a different location. So everybody had to drive again to go to the reception. So, things happen that are out of our control. So, one thing I was thinking about when we were thinking about weddings is I feel like invitations, like actual wedding invitations, have changed since I got married 35 years ago. It used to be Mr. and Mrs. So and so and Mr. and Mrs. So and so invite you to, the marriage ceremony of their son, daughter, blah, blah, blah. And I feel like now it's more like bride and groom invite you to witness their marriage ceremony. And I feel like also, like back when I got married, my mom did all the heavy lifting on planning the wedding. And now it's more the bride who does more of the planning. Are you guys noticing this? Have you experienced this?
I'll be honest, I haven't received a wedding invitation in a while. I feel like it's just like my peers are beyond that. Their children are my children's generation, and many of them just haven't got there yet. So I can't say as I can speak to the change in, but you did describe my wedding invitation. It was, my mother and father and Brian's mother and father invite you to the ceremony of, yeah. I will say though, I did all the heavy lifting when it came to planning the wedding. And I loved every minute of it. I was thinking about, where is my book? I had a journal, just a hardcover blank journal book with a beautiful, like, like what you see, like handmade paper, like that was like the cover of the journal. But that journal became like my wedding preparation Bible. So it was like an all encompassing planner and scrapbook. And like I would cut out pictures from magazines and I would put ideas in there. And then I took a ruler to all the blank pages and filled out the guest list and their address and their, like, yeah, I loved every bit of that.
And you still have it?
I'm ready when my children are ready.
Uh,
I do still have it. I just don't know where it is. But I hadn't thought about that in a long time until kind of thinking about this episode. So I might be on the hunt for it this winter. I might look through my basement and see if I can find it.
That is so fun. I don't know if you ladies knew this, but I worked at a printing company. I worked at Carlson Craft here in southern Minnesota, and they are one of the biggest, or were one of the biggest distributors of wedding invitations. And so in college, that's where I worked. And I saw sort of that progression of the very traditional, you have like the embossed flowers on the invitations, and there was a special way to fold everything and to put them in the envelope, and then you had the tissue paper in between the RSVP card, and all of that
Yes.
tradition was absolutely there. And while I was working there, we slowly started to move into full color photo invitations. That was sort of the next big thing, is adding your photo to your wedding invitation. And so, and I quit when the girls were young, and so it kind of fell off of seeing those trends develop. But I imagine with the increase of the internet and being able to print things out yourself in a more professional way than ever before, we can see how wedding invitations did kind of evolve and change. And it's been interesting to see that. And with my own daughter, I would say that's very true, Angela. She made a lot of the decisions for what they wanted their day to look like. I just was there to support as best as I could, and I wanted it to be that way. It wasn't my wedding, it was their wedding, and so thankfully she included me in those plans. But very interesting to see how that's changed over the years.
and somewhere along the line, save the dates became a thing. Like that wasn't even a thing when I got married. And now the save the date goes out like a year before the wedding. And then the wedding invitation goes out, I don't know, 2 months, 6 weeks, whatever before. So, how did you girls prepare for your marriage versus your wedding? So for Jim and I, we did several things. We got married in a Christian Reformed church, and we went to a local, at the time, it was called Engaged Encounter. And it was a weekend where you went to a college campus and you stayed in the dorms, kind of like all the girls stayed on the girls' dorms, all the guys stayed in the guys' dorms. And you just answered a ton of questions, went through workbooks. They had group sessions. Then you would go and meet individually and go over your answers. And it was just a very intense weekend talking about marriage. And then the other thing we did was the pastor who married us had, I don't remember how many sessions of counseling we had with him before we got married. And that has some funny stories that go with it. But I probably shouldn't share because it's, he said some things to Jim that weren't very kind, but we had to take personality tests, and it was all the questions like, are you on the same page as far as your beliefs and how many kids you want, and all of those questions. So how about you, Emily? Did you guys do any counseling or anything before you got married?
We did. We got married in a very traditional church setting where it was sort of the requirement to meet with, it was the priest at the time. And also, I think it was strongly encouraged, or maybe it was required. to do sort of a weekend intensive, very similar to what you described, Angela. There were other couples there. There was somebody leading the class. There was the workbook. There was conversation topics, things like that. And I don't remember specifics from those. Like my memory is a little fuzzy, but as I was talking to Andrew about this, we both remember not feeling super shocked or unprepared by the topics that they wanted us to talk about. And so I mentioned in a previous episode that we were friends for a good year and a half to 2 years before we got married. And so just in our conversations, I think lots of life things came up. And so for us, it was, I guess, an affirmation that we felt we were ready to get married, as ready as you can be at 23 and 26. You know, you're still googly eyed and thinking, oh, this is going to be so fun, which it is. And also, you don't realize how much work is involved in marriage until you say the I do and then you start living it.
I've seen Andrew make googly eyes at you recently, so he's never lost that love and feeling. I'm just saying.
No, it's still there. It's still there. That's a secret to staying married. You got to keep the spark alive, right?
Lisa, did you guys do anything like that?
Brian and I did similar. We had sessions. It was not a weekend thing, but we had sessions with our pastor to discuss similar things that you two both just mentioned. I would agree that I can't speak for Brian, but I was not surprised by any of the topics brought up or conversations had. And then Brian and I dated for 6 years before we got married. So we were kind of preparing for a really long time. And then we also moved in together. Before he asked me to marry him, I want to say we were living together maybe a couple months, and then we got engaged. And then we got engaged on Christmas Eve, and then we were married 10 months later. So we kind of just did it in a both traditional and non-traditional way, but I wouldn't change any of it for anything. Okay, well, maybe I would ask him to not drag his feet for 6 years, but can't go backwards, can we?
I love it. So Lisa shared this amazing memory in the kitchen, with the two dads being in there. And she said that is one thing she would relive from her wedding day. How about you, Emily? Is there any moment in time that you wish you could kind of freeze frame or relive?
I do remember right after the ceremony, had ushered everybody out of the church and got into Andrew's vehicle at the time with our maid of honor and best man. And we're going to drive to the reception. And I remember just feeling so overjoyed. I was like, I'm married. Like, I'm Mrs. Andrew Kolars. Like, this is like, I'm married. Just that elation of we did it. And I feel like looking back, I'm like, the reception was amazing. And also I could have been like, okay, see ya. Thanks for coming. Like I'm married now. I'm ready to, go right off into the sunset. So that was just a very memorable moment for me.
Let me ask you a completely high school question, you two.
Please do.
Did the two of you practice writing your future full name even before you got married? Because I'll tell you what, I have lots of places in that scrapbook slash planner that I need to find where I was practicing, how am I going to make a G? Because my maiden name is Lewis, so I had the L's down, no problem. But now I had to switch it up, and so yeah, it was a little high schoolish, like when you in high school and you're like Lisa plus Brian, la la la, with little hearts. But did either one of you practice writing your name? before you actually had that name?
I mean, I'm sure I did, like in the course of the wedding planning, but Jim and I only knew each other 3 weeks when he proposed. So there wasn't a lot of thinking about, I wasn't even thinking about getting married when he proposed. So yeah, it was definitely blindsided me with the question. So no, there was no writing of names before we were even engaged.
Maybe I should ask you, how long did it take for you to not write your maiden name as you were married and be like, oh,
Yeah,
right,
that's right.
that's
I
not
got
it?
married. Wow, that's crazy.
I absolutely did practice writing my name with the new last name. And actually, I went so far as to start a new email address with my first and last name because I was getting ready to graduate from college. So I graduated from college like a month before we got married. And I think at the time I was not going to be able to use my school email anymore. And so I started a Gmail account and I thought, well, I'm going to be married in a month anyway. Why not just start one with my new last name? And so I went to the next level. Not only did I practice it with my penmanship, but I claimed that email address. Yeah.
That's awesome. So did either of you get cold feet?
6 years, Angela, 6 years.
I think the question would be for you, Angela. 3 weeks. That is, yeah, that would be more of a question for you. I didn't get cold feet. I remember two moments when we went to get the flowers that morning. I was with my mom, and I just had this like thought of, wow, this is a really weighty decision. Are we going to be okay? Like I'm making the right decision, right? That whole just little doubt, like this is a big deal. I want to make sure. And I already knew. And then as I was waiting with my dad outside the church before it was time for us to walk down the aisle, same kind of thing. So one was a moment with my mom, one was a moment with my dad. Not that I had cold feet, just the weight of the decision. This is changing things forever. And so, um, little moments that passed.
I mean, obviously, I couldn't go back and change the weather on my wedding day, but is there something you would change or do differently? And also, part of this question is, would you scrap the wedding and elope? Lisa?
Oh, here's the thing.
Give us the thing, Lisa.
Yeah, so the thing is, I know I know more now, like the whole people pleasing thing. Like having a wedding to sometimes is, I think, done because you feel an obligation to family and friends. So, if I were to remove that piece of it, could I totally see eloping? Sure. Like my dad was totally like, listen, you do want to elope? That's way cheaper. I can totally sign the whole check on that one. So if you want to do that one, go ahead. But I mean, I enjoyed my wedding day so much because of full intention, like from the moment of walking up those stairs and seeing the two fathers standing there, like I decided this day's going to fly by and I don't want to miss any of it. So I probably would not elope if I could do it all over again, just because it was just such a special, memorable day.
Yeah.
Everything you just said is so relatable, Lisa. The people pleasing, the expectations, the feeling obligated. I was also on one side of the family. I was the second oldest grandchild in a whole line, a whole bunch of grandchildren. And so having all of our aunts and uncles and cousins, and my brother was the only other one that had gotten married already, I think at that point, if I'm remembering correctly. So yeah, just feeling that obligation for the whole family to be there, which again, beautiful, so amazing. The one thing that I would change is I would have preferred to have a shorter engagement, and I really wanted to get married. We got engaged in May, and I was wanting to get married in October. And because of some influence of other people that were involved in the planning processes, I decided that they were probably right, that we should wait until the following June. And looking back, I wish I would have just been able to own what I wanted and got married that October. So, not that it's a regret, but after coaching and realizing that you can make powerful decisions and other people may not like them, and that's okay, I would have done that differently.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. What encouragement or advice would you give to a bride to be?
I would 100% say what I would reiterate what I just said about that day is going to come and go. Like the planning aspect, it's like any big event, right? The planning and anticipation is far longer than the actual event itself. And so, with intent, plan ahead of time to be ever present, like throughout the whole day. And sometimes I think it's helpful, even if you could have, like, so when you have your something borrowed and blue and new and old, like maybe that becomes like your little reminder to take pause. I'm here right now because the day just goes by so quickly.
Yeah.
And one of the things Brian and I did, which was super powerful, that our pastor suggested two things actually. We faced each other and the congregation more than the traditional, the back of the bride and groom to the congregation. Hence why bride's dresses are so ornate from the back, because that's what you're staring at. He's like, I'm sure yours is going to be beautiful, but people came to see you, was his argument. He's like, people came to see you. They want to see the two of you looking at each other and the looks on your faces. And they can't see that if you're facing me. So we did that. And then the second thing we did is, instead of having a receiving line, we dismissed the congregation. So we went from pew to pew and like made, again, intentional eye contact, gave hugs. And so people weren't left feeling like, oh my gosh, this line is not moving. They were just seated where they were for the wedding, waiting for us to come to them. And it actually went by much faster than, at first I was like, we're not doing that. People are going to be sitting there forever. He's like, so they're sitting or they're standing in a line. Either way, but this way you get to control it more because it's just about the two of you. So it wasn't the long line of like, okay, now shake hands with, a bunch of people.
Yeah.
You have no idea because you just came because you know the bride.
Yeah.
But shake all these people's hands. So those would be two recommendations I would tell other new or brides to be to just take into consideration. It doesn't have to be traditional. You can shake it up a little bit.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think too, I mean, we just had Kylie's wedding. My daughter just got married and they planned a wedding in 2 months. So you can do it as simple and carefree as you'd like it to be. There was under 50 people there and it was outdoors. They wanted to be barefoot in the grass. I'm like, nobody says you have to wear shoes at a wedding. That's fine. You guys want to be barefoot? Awesome. He didn't wear a tux, right? So you can make that day as simple or as elegant as you'd like it to be, obviously, depending on budget, right? But just that empowerment. It's your day, it's yours and your future husband's day. What do you guys want it to look like? And then invite other people in to enjoy that with you.
That is such good advice. I think for me, it would definitely be to talk a lot more about the marriage than the wedding day. Remember that the day is a day, but the marriage is a lifetime. So really be, soft hearted to each other, listen to each other. I've heard marriage expert Jimmy Evans say the best marriages are two servants in love. So, lay down your own selfishness and start thinking about how you want to serve the other person. So I'm curious, did you guys write your own vows, or did you use something more traditional that maybe your pastor or priest provided? What did you guys do for the vows? And did you really think through what you were saying for better or worse?
So we did the traditional vows. We got married in a church that we're no longer part of that denomination. So it was very traditional. I don't even know if there was an option to write our own vows, thinking back now.
That's a newer thing too.
It is. And where we were at in our own faith journey, we were not, I think, as serious about our faith at that time. And so I really like the idea of writing your own vows and really digging into scripture and sharing that with each other and just sharing, like you said, Angela, being a servant to one another. This is what I'm coming into this marriage to do, to love you unconditionally. But that was our experience. I don't know that there was a choice. Again, it's fuzzy. That was 24 years ago. I don't have the journal or scrapbook to go back and look at all of these details like Lisa does. They're just fuzzy memories. I do have a VHS tape, so maybe I could go back and watch the VHS tape of my wedding and jog some more memories.
Yeah, now we need a VHS player, right? Where do you get that?
Right. I don't even think we have one anymore. Yeah.
We had traditional vows also that I think the only thing I distinctly remember asking to drop was the love, honor, and obey piece. I'm like, I'm not saying obey. I will
Of
not be
course.
obeying.
I could have seen that coming.
Yep. I will not be saying that. But for the most part, it was your traditional vows. But yes, looking back, I definitely would have considered writing our own vows. Like, I just feel like at the time it wasn't, you just went with tradition. I already felt like I was pushing the envelope by like facing the congregation and doing like already like, because again there were other people at the wedding who were like, you're going to do what? What? You don't do that. Like, we held hands during the ceremony. That was not typical either. And so people make comments on that. And so, yeah, I cannot say for sure, but my guess would be like, no, we'll just stick with the traditional thing. Just drop the obey thing.
We did very traditional vows. If I remember right, I think we used the same vows that my mom and dad used. And when I said my vows, I don't know if I didn't practice them ahead of time. We had a rehearsal and all of that. But you're kind of joking around at the rehearsal and blah, 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 whatever. But when I started to say my vows, I started to cry. And it was like once it started, when the waterworks start, you can't turn it off. And I think part of it was just nerves too. I was 19 years old, so I was nervous and being up in front of everyone. And I started to cry. And so many people later. So Jim and I were facing each other when we said our vows. And the people that could see Jim's face when we were saying our vows, everyone said, oh my word, when you were crying, the look on his face was absolutely priceless. So I don't know, maybe that stuck for 35 years. I don't know, but I was
so sweet.
I definitely was nervous when I was up in front. I was so young, you guys. What is your mindset for improving your marriage as the years go by? What is the mindset that you have? So, like Jim and I, we are always trying to work on improving our communication. This advice was given to us before we got married, and we really took it to heart. We never say divorce. Like, we don't threaten. We don't ever, act like we have one foot out the door or anything like that. It's just never, ever, ever comes up. So we do have a very committed mindset. And yeah, I think that's for speaking for us. But Lisa, how about you? What do you guys do to improve marriage as the years go by?
Well, same when it comes to divorce. Like it's like a non-negotiable. It's not even, it has never come up in our marriage. And I think it's because both of us have gone into the marriage as it's not an option. It's like we are committed to each other. And when you asked the question earlier about cold feet, I, in retrospect, I didn't have cold feet, but I do remember having the hesitancy because both of my parents were divorced. And I questioned whether it was the right decision for my future husband to marry a person who is a product of two people that couldn't stay married, because his parents are still married. Like his parents have always been together. And so I did question that, like, oh my gosh, am I setting him up for some kind of failure? Because, what is the statistic of staying married if if you're a product of people that are not in a lasting relationship? Though in retrospect, I don't believe any of that to be true. But I do remember that at the time feeling a little bit like, is there a possibility here? Like, what am I setting him up for unhappiness and things like that? So, as far as like to answer your question, I would say, again, I can't speak for Brian, but most recently, like I'm talking like the last 5 years recent, probably has to do with coaching. Surprise, surprise. The most recent lessons that I have learned, that have also been pretty liberating, is to let go of that exhausting burden of trying to change the other person. Because, spoiler alert, it's never my job. Go figure. So just recognizing that has just been, like I said, is a little liberating
For sure.
to know that now. And if I had known that sooner, there might have been some times where things might not have been as perceived challenging, because I wasn't trying to make, quote unquote, my husband be someone he wasn't.
Yeah, that's so relatable. In addition to that, too, it's not my job to control him either, even how he's feeling. So if he's having a bad day, I think, oh, what do I need to do to make him feel better? What can I do to fix it? What can I do? And really, I'm just trying to make me feel better, because when he's not feeling great, or if he's having negative emotion, I take that on and I start having negative emotion. So just in the last year, I've realized it's okay for him to have negative emotion about something, and I can still be okay. I can come alongside him, or just let him have his time and deal with whatever it is he's dealing with. So, yeah, that's really relatable, Lisa.
Yeah, surprise again, right? We can't carry everyone else's feelings without depleting our own capacity
No,
at the same
we
time.
can't. It's impossible. And in addition to that, I would just say honesty and communication. Like both of us have just always been 100% honest with each other, and we share things that are going on, perspectives.
So when Jim and I entered empty nest season, he thought it was empty nest is the same thing as honeymoon 2.0. Are you guys feeling this with your husband too, where they think this is like time to be honeymooning every day? Are you guys there or not yet?
We still have an adult child in the house, so not to that level, but anytime he can sneak that in, then yes, definitely that mindset.
Yeah, but I think that's like the perpetual 17-year-old version of our husbands. Yeah.
Yeah, it's always there, isn't it?
Mhm. Yep.
I think on a serious note, though, when there is an empty nest, and even though we do still have an adult child living at home, we do have more time together, just the two of us, he and I. It's really interesting to notice. We were just talking about this the other day. Have we noticed how each other has changed? Like, we still go on dates where we go out to eat or we go and run and do something together. But now that the kids are grown and now that their needs are different, and now that it really is just the two of us face to face again, spending time together again, let's start to pay attention more. Like, how have you grown and changed? How have I grown and changed? How are your likes different than they were before? How are my likes and dislikes different than they were before? It does open up more time to kind of rediscover some of those things about your person, because you're not the same person that you were when you married them, and they're not the same person either. So it's a time of rediscovery, is what I'm finding right now in this season.
I love that so much. Gemini's rediscovery is me winning at cards every night. I'm schooling him every day. I'm sure we've all had hard seasons in our marriage where, that's when our faith comes in and we have to lean on God. And whether it's, difficulties with kids or, for us, we had infertility. There are always opportunities in marriage to lean on God. And I think that's where the covenant comes in, that marriage is not just between two people, but between husband, wife, and God. So I would love to invite our listeners to share their own wedding stories. If it's a memorable event, if it is a disaster, something disastrous happened at your wedding, we want to hear about it. So reach out on Instagram, send us a DM, which, this was a listener request. So if you have a request for a future episode, we would love to hear that too. So if today's episode stirred something, maybe you're feeling emotional, planning your own child's wedding. I know, Emily, you just went through that. Whether you're choosing to stay committed in a more difficult marriage, or maybe you have a desire to take your relationship from good to great, we want to know all about it. And we're here to walk alongside you to help you through that season. As Christian life coaches, we help women just like you build Christ-centered relationships, strengthen emotional and spiritual foundations, and walk in wisdom through every season of life. So if you're ready to grow deeper in your identity, your faith, and your relationships, even those difficult ones, we'd be honored to walk alongside you. Our website links are in the show notes for you to book a free discovery call with one of us, and let's talk about where God is leading you next. So thank you for joining us in the lounge today. Like I said, reach out on Instagram. We are on all platforms. Please share wherever you're listening. Share it with someone that might enjoy listening to it. And we would love if you would follow our channel, rate and review. Rating and reviewing boosts our analytics, and it helps other people to find our show more easily. We release a new episode every Tuesday, so be on the lookout for that. And until next time, everyone, we are so grateful that you're here. We look forward to hanging out with you next time in the lounge. And Lisa and Emily, I'll see you later in the Marcos.